blockchain is just a technology. It's a technology that enables ownership and interoperability. You folks who are listening, who are building in Web3, have a vision of what this, world is going to look like, this interoperable world in which folks can own stuff. And, focus on that. Focus on the user experience. Focus on what's going to be fun for them, delightful for users, important and valuable for businesses. And the fact that, you're leveraging this technology, that is almost secondary to your vision of what the world is going to look like and what the user experience that you can bring to market is.
Hey everybody, Tanner here with WAGMI Ventures. On today's episode, we have Adi Sideman, co-founder and CEO of Revel. For anyone who's new, this is the WAGMI Ventures podcast, where we do snapshots with interesting founders from across Web3. Check out wagmiventures.io to learn more about the syndicate behind the podcast. But for now, let's get into it with Adi Sideman. All right. Hey, everybody. I'm here today with Adi Sideman, co-founder and CEO at Revel. Adi, how's it going today?
Good, Tanner. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, I'm excited to chat. I know a lot about the really cool work you guys are doing, but I'm excited to share it with our audience here. So why don't you introduce yourself? Just tell us a little bit about the journey up to building Revel.
Sure. So my name is Adi. I've been working at the intersection of consumer media and the creator economy for many years, way before the creator economy was a word. I started as an engineer making games, and I engineered and produced the game for the movie The Matrix back in the day, and continued building apps and businesses, mostly focusing on enabling regular people to create media, express themselves through media. So I co-founded the world's first online karaoke, K-Solo Karaoke, which sold to Fox MySpace at the height of MySpace. Elf Yourself, which was the big greeting card for like a decade, allowing anyone to create their own family of dancing elves for Christmas. It was number one app in the store over Christmas for many years in the entertainment category. You Now live streaming, which we grew to over 120 million user sessions a month, and was kind of like the original mobile live streaming before Twitter, Periscope, and Facebook Live and Instagram Live came around. And that experience was, really where we started getting into the creator economy and introducing digital currency in the context of a two-sided marketplace where people could not just spend on, gifts and microtransactions, but the creators could also earn from that. Until then, creators could earn from like advertising revenue share on YouTube, but this was really the first time they were earning from microtransactions and tip-like transactions. So, over the past 6 years, I've been in blockchain. I launched a loyalty token business. And then Revel really came out of all of these experiences, out of my passion towards building consumer media products and my experience in blockchain and the creator economy. And so, Revel is a social collectibles platform that has elements of gaming, which I have a history with, the creator economy, blockchain, and consumer networks at scale.
Very cool. So to someone who's brand new to Revel, how do you describe what Revel is all about?
So there's the short answer and the long answer, and I'll start with the short one, which is it's a social collectibles platform. And what does that mean? It effectively means that anyone can easily produce and trade their own baseball cards. And if you think about it, it used to be that only actors were in movies, and now we're all on video and in videos. And, it used to be that only baseball players could have baseball cards. And, now there's more and more collectibles. And we are working on a product for the long tail to allow anyone to create, manage their collectibles. So that's the short of it. And if we have time, Tanner, I'm happy to go into the long of it.
Okay. Maybe we can circle back to the long at the very end if we have time. I'd be curious to hear what that version sounds like. So maybe next, could you just talk us through a little bit of history for consumer apps and where Revel is situated within the context of other maybe similar but also different consumer-facing products?
Yeah. You know, first of all, Revel is kind of like a cross between Instagram and Robinhood wrapped with social game economics. And so Instagram, because it allows people to publish personal media. Robinhood, because it's a marketplace that allows other people to buy into this media. And the social game economics is because, we take economic concepts that may not be accessible to everyday people, like, supply, demand, and others, and turn that into simple gameplay, like, collect three, or lock three, or get a bonus, et cetera, et cetera. And so that's just a little bit of a background. And in that sense, where we are looking to is really, what is the future of social networks, and how does the ability to own assets impact that? And if you think about it, and sort of situating the conversation there, you asked about situating. Think about it. There hasn't really been any, great change in social networks over the past decade and a half. A little bit for creators, where they got microtransactions and they got subscription and all kinds of creator tools to allow them to do filters and all kinds of stuff like that, but nothing inherently in the business model. They're still kind of like coin operated, who are getting a piece. And then on the followers side, there has been even less. In that sense, followers have been the likers, the viewers, the consumers, and they haven't seen any change in their experience at all. And so really the fact that blockchain enables ownership of people's personal media for the first time in history, it really opens a new design space in terms of what social experiences can be and what the relationship is between people and their followers, a relationship that's moving from a following to a stakeholding relationship. And that's a really, really exciting space to work in. And that's the intersection where Revel lives.
Very cool. So there's a lot there I want to touch on, but before we jump into more, I'm curious, what about the Revel opportunity gets you most excited or passionate about working on this?
What we're building at Revel is a platform for regular people. It's not for creators. It's not for, Twitterati or Web3 experts. It's for, any teenager and any mom and pop, and any friends that can use it. And that's a really exciting challenge. It's a very ambitious and it's a very, a big effort, but it's also a really, really big opportunity, exactly because there hasn't been disruption in the model for social network in over a generation. And so what excites me is to take these concepts that are, economic concepts, marketplace concepts that are not necessarily, simple or intuitive or easy to for everyone to understand, and simplify them so that anyone can feel engaged, accessible. We hear from our users; they say addicted, and delighting them, and really take this new value proposition of I am a partner in something. I own an edition of something. I own a piece of this person's social status or equity, and bringing that to the masses. That's a really, really exciting challenge that the team is psyched for, and has built and launched a great product to start addressing.
Super interesting. Yeah. Okay, so let's go back to the very beginning when Revel first started. Uh, what were some of the early challenges back then, and how did you and your team solve for those?
Yeah, um, I think that the biggest first challenge was why collect? Like, who cares? And it's like, okay, I understand I may want to collect, Leo Messi because I really love Leo Messi, but why would I collect what my friend is doing or what, like, a YouTuber that I'm following is creating? And we were parked on that challenge for some months. And what we were looking for was really a gameplay motivation, and it immediately turned it from okay, a social network in which people can own stuff to um, a, to having a dimension of a social game, and that was a very big breakthrough for us. And we effectively um, designed a set of economic rules that would drive the gameplay, and we call that proof of demand minting, where if everyone can mint as much as they want all the time, there's no scarcity, there's no real, sort of value there or motivation to collect something, et cetera, et cetera. But if there are some rules to this game, some constraints, just like any good game has constraints, then you can start, getting into motivations. And really, at the heart of it is to manage people's supply. So if you, Tanner, for example, have 5 million followers, and I have 500 followers, we have a totally different level of sort of optimal supply to create optimal engagement and revenue for us. You probably need to mint a lot more than I do. And so how does a single system and a single game effectively manage your economy of 5 million, my economy of 500, and all the economies in the middle with the same simple rules that everybody can understand, and without requiring you to start thinking about it and say, oh, how many editions should I mint? Let's see what's optimal for my community. I don't know. How many should I keep? How much should I charge for them? And so all of these questions are answered by, the simple gameplay rules, which effectively incentivize people to collect a set of 3 assets from another person. And those 3 assets get locked and provide them bonus every time that user mints more. So there's a lot packed in that, but the short of it is, this management of the economy and this challenge was a really exciting thing to design.
Fascinating, yeah. So, from your vantage point, where is social networking heading in the future? Say, 3 to 5 years. What changes can users expect if Revel continues to succeed and change the way that people interact?
Yeah. So it's almost like we are seeing a new phenomena that we haven't seen in the tech landscape for a long time, where we're experiencing not one, but 2 once in a generation disrupting technologies. The first is blockchain and the ability for people to own digital assets. And the second is generative AI, where anyone can easily create high production value media. And, the outcome is that social networks will look very differently very soon and, become a place where people are owning, creating, and co-owning and co-creating. Just because, the ownership is sort of clear, that technology enables it. And, we've seen a lot of that with blockchain over the years in Web3. And slowly but surely, we're seeing Instagram investing heavily, Facebook investing, billions. And so it's no secret that all media will be ownable and personal media will be ownable. And the co-ownable element is, kind of like the social element and the secret sauce of how this is going to play out in social networks. The generative AI is more of like a mystery of like a new thing, and what does it mean? Really, it's extremely powerful. It's not just another, sort of tactical tool like, better Photoshop, or it's really a strategic shift where, by orders of magnitude, more people can create and can create very easily and very fast and at a high production value. And all of that is going to just become, higher and higher production value and happen faster and faster, as fast as you can think about it and unfold in front of you in 30 frames per second. And that also means that from a social network standpoint, not only are there more people creating more stuff, it means that people can collaborate much easier because you're no longer talking about shooting film. You're no longer talking about flying to be in the same city together. You're now talking about exchanging ideas or prompts and collaborating that way. And so once that's opened up to regular people in social networks, that opens up a fascinating new world in which effectively we are the owners of our own IP. Just like Disney is the owner of Mickey Mouse and Donald Duck, and they have a whole department deciding on which cereal boxes they can appear and on which they can't, and on which movie they can appear and on which they can't. And one thing that we learned about the internet is everything that's available to the high end, to the top 1%, becomes available to everybody. And so now, Betty the cheerleader can control when her likeness is going to be, remixed by a friend from her homeroom, and when not. She is the owner and the manager of that, and she can decide if it's going to be permissioned or permissionless, and she can decide what levels of royalties she's going to get out of it. And so this new dimension of remix culture collaboration through generative AI is very real. And if you put on top of that the dimension of ownership and financial aspect, it points to a new era in social networking, where people are managing their own IP, are co-owning, and part of the entertainment, part of the fun, and part of the game is that game of business of managing your creations, your collections, your ownership across the network.
Yeah, this is fascinating. Okay, so could you talk a little bit about the experience of what it was like rising to the number one product of the day on ProductCon? That must have been pretty exciting, right? So I'm curious, what was that like from the inside of Revel?
Yeah, thank you. I mean, for me, it was so valuable as a validation and as a motivation thing for the staff, because they work so hard, and you kind of like work in a garage for a long time, and then in a beta, and then your audience, and getting a compliment, getting recognition, was really, really wonderful, and I was psyched that the team could have that.
Yeah, that's great. So, maybe two last questions here. I'm curious, because you actually Revel really sits at the intersection of kind of a few places. And so I think my first question would be, what would your advice be for founders using blockchain technology, maybe similar to the ways that Revel is, where it's core to the product, it's an important unlock for what Revel's able to do, but you also operate in kind of a variety of other you leverage a variety of other types of technology. Could you talk a little bit about any advice for anyone who's kind of following in those footsteps?
Yeah, it's a great question, and who am I to give advice? But if there's a gun to my head, I would just say, blockchain is just a technology. It's a technology that enables ownership and interoperability. You folks who are listening, who are building in Web3, have a vision of what this, world is going to look like, this interoperable world in which folks can own stuff. And, focus on that. Focus on the user experience. Focus on what's going to be fun for them, delightful for users, important and valuable for businesses. And the fact that, you're leveraging this technology, that is almost secondary to your vision of what the world is going to look like and what the user experience that you can bring to market is.
Love it. Okay. Last question. What is your team working on right now, and what's the best way for people to follow along on the journey?
Great. So we are really focused on generative AI functionality in the platform. And so we already have the ability for anyone to put in prompts and manipulate art. Today, we're moving to allow that in a more personalized fashion with their photos, videos, and also in a collaborative fashion. So that's really important for us. We're working on a bunch of trust and safety features. Obviously, reputation is key, and we want the service to continue to be clean and fraud-free. And then, a bunch of economic functionality associated with auctions and burning, and making sure that that's, a lot of fun and not a chore to do.
Perfect. Adi, thank you so much for the time. I really appreciated this conversation, and I'm excited to keep watching all the awesome work happening at Revel. So have a great rest of your week and take care.
Thank you so much, Tanner.